Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more.
For every veteran, there is a story about a calling to serve, to fight for the freedoms of the American people. And every story has a struggle, a sacrifice, and invisible wounds. Warrior Watts programs help veterans recover from PTSD and invisible wounds through exercise, nutrition, and connecting with other veteran leaders. It is estimated that 22 veterans die each day by suicide, and another 30 veterans die each day by substance abuse. These are preventable deaths. Warrior Watt is committed to fighting PTSD through fitness, nutrition, and community.
All right. Welcome back.
Misfit Nation, the Misfit Nation show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, Stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_Misfit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome back to the Misfit Nation show and your Thursday after dinner episode. Tonight's a good one, and we'll get to our awesome guest here in a minute. Of course, we have some announcements to make. I had a great visit today with Matt Wheeler and his family as they came through Clarksville. It was great to see the family, my brother-in-arms from both Kandahar and Kunar. It's great to see him and get that brother hug and see the family and see how much they've grown. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out with the Misfits, the Misfit Nation, and of course me. It was great to see you, and hopefully I see you again soon. We also today we remember Officer Baldino Morales Sanchez of the Mayaguez Municipal Police Department in Puerto Rico, and to watch Saturday, January 25th, 2025, and Officer Jason Roscoe of North Las Vegas Police Department in Nevada, and to watch Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. Officer Roscoe actually got to fire back, and he took care of his assailant in the firefight, and his assailant is no longer able to hurt anyone else. He's no longer with us. So keep their families, their friends, their peers in your thoughts and prayers as we move forward in our lives. Make sure that you keep positive thoughts for them in their lives. Tonight, we have a renowned meditation teacher, mental health counselor, and spiritual guide with over 20 years of experience in the field. Through his expertise in mental health and deep spiritual understanding, he provides a holistic approach to healing and growth. With his compassionate and insightful guidance, he has inspired and empowered people from all walks of life to embrace mindfulness and meditation as a path to greater self-awareness and spiritual awakening. So, Misfit Nation, put your hands together and let's welcome Mr. Dean Graves to the show. Welcome, Dean.
Thank you, Rich. Delighted to be here.
It's awesome to have you here. And like we said in the green room, you're right down the block there in Memphis. So, I mean, we can almost give each other a high five if it wasn't for an awesome highway that's in our way.
Yes. After the show, you have to come over and have some coffee.
I'll just start working out, get there just in time for breakfast, I guess.
Yeah.
Dean, I just gave basically a 2-sentence introduction about you. If you don't mind, tell the Misfit Nation a little bit more about you, from as far back as you want to go to how we got here.
Well, my life around my 50th year, up to my 50th year, I led a very conventional life. Family and ran a business and was moderately successful. I wasn't an Elon Musk or anything of that nature, but I had an awareness, and the awareness was very simply that all the stuff that I'd been doing wasn't actually making me happier. You know, it was what I deemed to be successful and had all the appearance of happiness, but I wasn't happy internally. And so that is a point in life that we are designed to all reach, to reach that point where we realize that all the things that we've been doing are really not underneath creating long-term constant happiness. And so I began looking around for what alternatives were there. And to shorten this story, my prevailing experiences at the time led me to meditation. And meditation was difficult, but I persevered and developed a proficiency with it, and became a meditation instructor, mindfulness instructor. And I've had the privilege to work with, I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, so I would say hundreds of people. It's not, there's not a huge market here for meditation, but it led me along a spiritual path that was non-religious, and that allowed me to have experiences and encounters that really transformed my perceptions of who we are, what we're doing here, and what our purpose is. No one has a different purpose in life. Everyone's purpose in life is to explore themselves, and we do that by having experiences. We have a mission that is separate from our purpose in life, and that mission is whatever you like to do. And because the choice of that is great and so infinite, is whatever you like to do is something you're going to become proficient at. And so consequently, becoming proficient, you're going to be successful at it, but that will bring you the types of experiences that you need to have in order to be successful in your purpose in life. And I know that you and your audience, for the most part, have military or first responder experiences, and they have challenges within their life that are not, I would say, normal to the general public. And so consequently, it's an intensification of their opportunities for self-exploration, but having had those experiences in learning how to explore yourself and put into perspective what those types of experiences were intended to bring you. They are an accelerated stimulus for our awareness, for our self-exploration.
Definitely. And like we said in the green room, I told you the audience what's made up of, and the things that they go through as they come back. And I know you help a lot of veterans down there where you are in one of the mental health clinics you work in, or the mental health areas you work in, is with the veterans down there. I'm sure you see a wide range of veterans there, from probably Vietnam up to now as well. since Memphis has a pretty good veterans base down there as well.
Yeah, well, the VA here is very active and actually very good. Both of my parents were veterans, and my father was a career Navy. My mother was in the Navy during World War II.
Wow.
And when she was aging and developed dementia and Alzheimer's, and spent a lot of time at the VA with her, and they were great. But the nature of the experiences are very intense for people that choose to include in their life experiences military service or first responder experience. And because they are so intense, they are impactful to what we perceive to be our perception of self, who we are. Right. And those, if you're only in for 2 years, for example, those 2 years can provide you a lifetime of experience to try to work out. A lot of that ends up with being interpreted by the experiencer, by the individual, as traumatic. And I do, actually, I do almost exclusively work now with just people that suffer from traumas, and not necessarily PTSD, but PTSD is what evolves from the traumatic experience. In other words, the PTSD are behaviors that result because of the traumas. And the mental health profession in general doesn't understand a lot of things. They don't understand what a mind is to begin with, and they don't understand what a trauma is. And they've done tremendous research on the effects of a trauma, but they haven't figured out what a trauma itself is. A trauma in and of itself, if I may explain, is we as humans are designed to only experience or be able to process one thought at a time. And that's our perception of time. We think one thought, we adjudicate that thought, and then we attract the next thought. With every thought that we attract, every thought that we think, we are obligated to make a decision before we can go to that next thought. The next, or that decision, is very simply that this thought that I'm currently processing either feels good or it doesn't feel good. If it feels good, then it's something that brings me comfort and joy. If it's something that doesn't feel good, that in and of itself is stress. So every time that we process a thought, which undoubtedly is going to be associated with the experience that we're having, if we don't like that, then that is actually a message to us about something about ourselves that we need to become aware of and to surrender. The mind is nothing more than a bundle of beliefs. That's all a mind is. And the mind manifests the condition of our body. So if we are thinking thoughts that we don't like, but we continue to attract those thoughts because we decline the opportunity or simply fail to adjudicate that thought to the point of becoming aware of what beliefs that we've incorporated into our mind need to be resolved and surrendered, then we will perpetuate that stress, and that becomes suffering. Suffering is nothing more than repeated stress that we haven't learned. And we will manifest in the body illness or distortions to accommodate the way that we fail to process those thoughts or to interpret those thoughts. A trauma differs from simply a stressful experience in that we perceive an experience to last some period of time, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it is. But in that, we process dozens of thoughts. And with each one of those thoughts, we are still obligated to make a decision that this thought either feels good and I like it, or doesn't feel good and I don't like it. When we encounter an experience that so challenges our perception of self, our belief of who we are unable to process that thought. Our awareness literally leaves our body. And if you've seen people, you may have experienced yourself. Usually they will show people after their house has been destroyed by a tornado and they're just kind of wandering around in shock. And they describe that in shock, as being shock. Until that person is able to bring their awareness back inside of their body, they're going to continue to be in that confused state of where they are, who they are, and what's going on. That same experiences when we create a trauma, that there are one or two, or I've never encountered more than 4 thoughts in what we perceive to be a 30-minute experience or an hour experience, that a person was so unable to process that one thought that for that one thought, their awareness left their body. And so they are in shock for the course of 1 or more, 3 or 2, 3 or 4 thoughts within that perceived experience. The healing of that trauma is very simple. The individual always knows the peak moment of their emotion in that experience. And the healing of the trauma is very simply focusing their awareness on that one moment, isolating that one moment, and healing that one moment by having them make that adjudication of that one thought. As you pointed, I've worked with I've worked with several people all the way with traumas back to Vietnam, and every military conflict that we've had since then. I work with crime victims that have the same circumstance, and the trauma healing literally goes away in usually about 10 minutes. It takes about 10 minutes to get rid of a trauma. And I worked with a lady just last week that she was diagnosed with bipolar and all sorts of mental diagnosis. She had a laundry list of diagnoses. She had 4 traumas, what she perceived to be traumas in her life, and we got rid of all 4 of them in 30 minutes.
Wow.
So it's not hopeless. Yeah. When you heal, if you understand that the PTSD portion is the behavior that results from that gap in your experience, and you heal that gap, you heal the trauma, then most often the individual is able to put the pieces of the puzzle that were causing the PTSD to go away. Or you can work with a therapist, and it's very simple. Therapists comprise at least half of my practice. Therapists themselves, not their patients. Wow. They refer patients to me, but they themselves are a large portion of my practice.
Wow. That's amazing right there. Just that number, that a large portion are the therapists, and of course the people they refer to you. I know as I came out and trying to deal with my baggage from being in for as long as I was, and for as many trips as I went, it was hard to find the right fit with the right doctor to actually get the right help. So do you see that as another barrier for care for many people, not just veterans or anyone, finding that right fit?
Yeah. Well, if they don't understand what the problem is, it's hard to offer help in healing.
Right. And it's really hard for them to articulate understand what you're going through at that time, as well as understand what to do for you. So it creates more of an animosity towards the profession for many people, and they're afraid to go back because they're afraid to have that same experience every time.
Well, the mindset, not understanding, and this was a major hindrance that I had in psychology studies, is none of my professors and instructors could tell me what a mind was. And that's a major hindrance when you're studying mental health and mental health behavior, but you don't know what the mind is, because all of that is irrelevant if you don't understand what the mind is. And I equate it to you've seen someone who has seen a jet way up in the sky, and you see the contrail, but you can't see the jet, and you want to know how the jet worked, but all you can see is the contrail. And there's only so much that you can discern by looking at the contrail. You have to look at the jet itself in order to figure out what it is and how it works. And that's pretty much what the mental health profession has focused on, is they've focused on the contrail rather than the jet.
Definitely have. And I think once we can get everyone to focus where they need to be focusing, there might be a better way, a better connection with everyone, and maybe get more people help.
Well, I have, when I tell this to mental health professionals, and in trying to proliferate what I do, I get great resistance until they experience it. And when they experience it, then it transforms them, and I immediately have a follower. And I wish I could train more people to do what I do, so that we could proliferate this and get people who need the help that they need.
Definitely. That would be an amazing feat right there. We have a couple questions from the audience members right now. I'll bring the first one up for you here. At Mindful Warrior 77, Dean, what was the turning point at 50 that led you to meditation, and how did it shift your perspective on life?
Well, dramatically. We as humans are designed from the moment that we're born to begin to create an identity. And the identity is an ego mind. And that ego mind is the adjudicator of our experiences. It's the one that decides whether we like something or don't like something. But this hierophant begins obviously very simply when we're an infant. It becomes a little bit more complex when we start going to the first grade and we go through school. When we become, when we go through puberty, then what has happened actually is we've gained a significant more awareness, but we have no information to fill that awareness. And that's why the teenage years for almost everybody is so chaotic. I know mine was. But we're trying to fill the gap, the void of information. And so consequently, until we begin to get enough information and some guidance or whatever, usually late teens, early 20s, that we can begin to get enough information to begin to function productively, we're in a great state of chaos. We will remain in that state of chaos because of this identity that we create until we realize that this identity is not providing us with greater happiness, which is exactly what happened to me. And it happens to everybody that goes through this process. It's a process that everyone will go through in the course of their life if they allow it. And that was the awareness that I had about my 50th year, that, I was doing all the things that I was supposed to be doing, and I should be happy. But, underneath there was that emptiness, there was that void. And so until we get to that point, our awareness is pointed outside of us, because I've got to observe you to see what your reactions are to my identity, because I created this identity in order to get more of what I like. And so I'm trying to adapt and find the perfect identity until such time as I realize that that's not possible, that that's not going to ever happen. And it's at that point in the awareness that I had, and that everyone will have, is to learn that you have to invert that same awareness, the same tool that you've been using in order to measure the world around you inwardly, and begin to explore within yourself what it is that's prohibiting you from being happy.
I'm make sure I get the name right. Mindful Warrior 77. Thank you for the question. I hope Dean was able to give you the answer you wanted, or at least open your eyes to a little more of why he moved on into his career of what he does now. We have two more questions just popped in to Dean. This one is from Higher Self Unlocked. You spent 20 plus years teaching insights to others. What's the most profound lesson you've learned from your own journey?
Well, the most profound thing was actually occurred probably a couple of years ago. So I've been doing this for now 23 years before I had this awakening. And the awakening is a point that we all can and will get to, that we are the one infinite creator. It's experiencing itself within a range of consciousness. And that probably will require a lot of unpacking. But when you have that realization, it's not an intellectual decision. You can make that intellectual decision right this minute, but it is something that you have to feel. And when you feel that is when you begin to live that, and you begin to allow all of those residuals of distortions of identity to fall away.
At Higher Self Unlocked, thanks for that question. Again, Dean, thanks for answering that. We have one more that's popped in as well. This is from Echoes of Wisdom. Throughout history, knowledge has been distorted or lost. How can we ensure that authentic spiritual wisdom is preserved today?
Well, because you have the capacity, as I have had, and as everyone has, to get the information directly. You're not going to get it through books. You can get guidance from books. And if your best determinator of whether it's truthful is it if it resonates with you, if it feels right to you. And I did, and I know that everyone else will go through a series of steps where they're becoming more aware and surrendering more of this identity that we create. And as you do that, then your capacity to assess truth from falsehood increases.
Awesome. That's a great answer. So for me personally, like I told you earlier, I'm just learning the way through the spiritual pillar of healing. I think I have social down, physical and mental. They all come together in those pillars. Is there a one size fits all to how to be spiritual, or to find that way to get there?
No, you're going to come. I tell people, my meditation students, everybody comes to meditation running away from the stick. The stick hurts, and we want relief from the stick. And so you begin to meditate, and it's hard. But if you persevere at it, then one day, and it will be either in 3 months or 3 years, it may be in 10 years, it depends on the individual, you'll get a bite of the apple. And you can substitute whatever food source. I had one guy say, well, I don't like apples, but I like lasagna. Okay, so you got a bite of lasagna. You really like that. And you wanted more of that. And so your motivation transforms from running away from the stick to chasing the apple or the lasagna or whatever your choice is of things that you really like. And once you do that, then your progression, your spirituality, your awareness of your authentic self greatly accelerates.
I like that analogy of running from the stick, and of course the apple and lasagna. Now I'm getting hungry as we're talking.
I shouldn't have mentioned the lasagna.
We got another question from the audience. Hopefully they're hungry too now. At Path to Clarity is a good one. For someone just starting on the meditation journey, what's the most important first step to gaining real insight?
To be patient with yourself. You're learning about yourself. You're learning how to invert that awareness and to bring that awareness inside. And the more you do that, and if you understand that what you're doing with the meditation is you're essentially turning off the distractions. You're turning off the noise, the sound, the input, the thoughts of what you have to do that day. And you're bringing that awareness inside and just being aware of what it is that you're feeling. And you will go past the feeling. You'll begin to become aware of thoughts. And it is erroneous that we will learn to stop thoughts. You can't stop thoughts. If you stop thoughts, then you would move out of time. But you can slow thoughts. And if you understand that, I'm sure everybody has been in or seen on TV, if nothing else, a stock trading room where they have the ticker tape running at the top of the room. And you can look at the ticker tape or you can choose not to look at the ticker tape. And the same is true with these constant flows of thoughts. They're going to run just like that ticker tape, but you don't have to pay attention to them. And learn to take control of your awareness and point that awareness into the other aspects that of you that are part of you, that are part of this identity, that are the magnet for you to continue to process these thoughts, because we attract thoughts. We don't create thoughts. We perceive that and we're taught that we create thoughts. We attract thoughts according to how we are. So if you're processing thoughts that you don't like, that don't feel good, the answer is not to try to stop the thoughts. The answer is to become aware of what it is inside of you that is attracting those thoughts.
Awesome. Path to Clarity. I hope that thank you for the question, first of all, and I hope that answered your question, and hopefully you were able to stay on your journey and find that inner peace and I guess get your center in the center for change.
Balance.
Frank DeMille,
it's all about balance.
Frank DeMille in the audience. He's an author, great guest. He was a guest on the show as well. He said meditation and mindfulness is what gave him focus. He needed to be an author. Thanks, Frank, for that. And thanks for jumping on tonight.
Well, I'm glad he brought up mindfulness, because mindfulness is a misunderstood concept. Mindfulness is nothing more than learning to take that frame of mind, that condition of being that you enter into in meditation. And I tell my students also that we exist in both the village and the guru's cave. When you meditate, you go into the guru's cave, and there are no problems in the guru's cave. But we have to come back down into the village. And all problems exist in the village. And so mindfulness is nothing more than learning to take that condition of being that you enter into in that guru's cave with you when you go back into the village. And so the same problems exist, but your perspective of those problems dramatically changes.
Awesome. We got another comment from LinkedIn from Dr. VP Singh. Striving to happiness with kindness provided for continuous peace and happiness. Thank you, Dr. VP Singh, for jumping on tonight, and thanks for your comment.
Well, happiness and kindness are what emerge, because when you surrender this identity more and more so, then you become more of your authentic self. And happiness is not something that we get, it's something that we already are that we don't recognize. And if you think of happiness as water filling the void, when water flows into the shore, it fills every void, every vacancy. And happiness does the same thing. It flows wherever you have reduced your stress, whatever condition that you've surrendered for yourself, that happiness flows into that position. Bliss is defined as perfect happiness. Bliss is nothing more than the absence of stress. Stress is nothing more than experiencing what doesn't feel good, what we don't like, And that is all the attraction of this false perception of self that we create with this identity.
Outstanding. Another question came in from the interwebs here. At Awakened Minds Only, Dean, how do you differentiate between true enlightenment and the distractions of modern day spiritual trends?
Enlightenment is not a destination. Enlightenment is a process. Everyone is enlightened to the degree that they have allowed themselves to become enlightened. How you distinguish enlightenment is your degree of happiness. Happiness is the measure of how we're doing. So we're evolving towards being in that condition of bliss. And the more happy that we are, the less stress that we are experiencing, the more we have surrendered this false perception of self and allowed our authentic self to emerge. And we are, because of that, evolving towards that greater enlightenment, that greater condition of bliss.
Outstanding. Awakened Minds Only, thank you for your question. And hopefully, like with all the other questions, Dean was able to hit the nail for you and drive some of that information home to you so that you too can find that enlightenment on your journey. Dean, so after 23 years now doing this, has there been anyone that just resisted anything you taught them?
Sure. Oh, yeah. Understand that this identity that we create is who we think we are. And that's why it is the source of stress. It is, and particularly as males, we're taught that we're supposed to be strong, that we're supposed to be indestructible. And the difficulty with that is it doesn't allow us the opportunity to be vulnerable. The vulnerability is a very fearful concept, particularly for men, but it has nothing to do with being vulnerable to the world around you. It has to do with becoming vulnerable to yourself. And when you can allow yourself to be honest enough with yourself, to be vulnerable with yourself, is when you really make progress. We perceive that we all want love, which we do, but we misinterpret that what love is. We actually seek intimacy, and we seek intimacy with a person outside of ourselves. But first, we have to be intimate with ourselves. And that intimacy requires absolute honesty, which means we have to break down all those barriers that we've been trained to defend and protect, and become aware and learn to be our authentic self.
Great. And for people, like the question earlier about starting out in a journey, and they're choosing a way to meditate and where to meditate, is there a right answer, a right or wrong answer, and how you meditate or where you meditate?
No, just do it. Whatever works for you. Any gongs, candles. I started with guided meditations, and I got to the point that the guided meditations were a distraction for me. And so I quit doing guided meditations. And then I did the thing with the gongs, and I did the thing with the candles, and then those became distractions. And so I quit all that. And you get to the point, you just sit down. You don't want any distractions. You just want to be able to bring that awareness inside of you. You will get to the point where you can have a wonderful meditation in the middle of Times Square, New York, and just be able to screen out all the stimulus that's coming at you from the world around you.
On this enlightenment journey, do you find people ask you this often? Is there a God or is there a higher being?
There is most definitely a one infinite creator. And that's what I was alluding to earlier when you asked me someone asked me what was the most profound experience that I've had. And it is the realization that all is one. There's nothing that is not the one infinite creator. And when you realize that, then you realize that you too must be the one infinite creator. So you pose the question, well, why didn't I know that? Why can't I be more like a creator? And it's because we're existing within a range of consciousness that requires us to become aware. And we are tasked in this range of consciousness with awakening, which is that point that we were talking about, just realizing that something's got to change. That's all where awakening is. It's just realization that I'm not happy with all the stuff that I've been doing. And then you become aware. And as you become aware, then you're learning to use awareness as the tool of healing by directing this inwardly. And then one day you wake up and you are awareness. And when you become that awareness, then you allow yourself to surrender these false perceptions of self. You no longer fear being vulnerable with yourself. You allow yourself to surrender those last vestiges of fear and surrender that identity to the point that you can have this feeling of knowing that you are the one infinite creator experiencing itself at this range of consciousness. There is nothing that we can think of, that we can encounter, that we can experience. Everything around us is the one infinite creator,
right,
including ourselves.
So, Dean, if you had to give 3 bits of advice to the Misfit Nation as they wake up tomorrow, what are 3 things they can start doing tomorrow to maybe find that enlightenment and maybe point themselves in the right direction of their compass?
Well, first of all, understand that because you are the one infinite creator, you are very powerful. And you have all the tools that you need to absolutely, completely heal yourself of whatever distortions that you have collected over your lifetime to this point. And with that statement of confidence, begin to search around. And meditation may not be your tool, but it is the most viable tool that we have in order to heal ourselves of the distortions that we've collected and to begin to live the life of joyful experiences that we are intended to have, that we need. The third thing is have persistence. Nothing is gained. You're healing, and you don't heal overnight. And so it's the process. It's a process, and learning to be patient with yourself and understanding with yourself that it is a process, and just allow yourself a few minutes every day to do that meditation, to bring your awareness, assess how you're doing. If you have a bad day, then take a few minutes of reflection and journal. Journaling is great because it requires you to bring that awareness to the point of when you had those upsets during the course of the day. But you have to make this part of your everyday. I spend my mornings, doing my spiritual work. I do my meditations, I do exercise and that sort of thing to continue to heal myself. And it is a process.
Yeah, I think everything in life, you have to be persistent. You gotta push yourself to do things sometimes and form that habit. So it becomes almost callous that you're doing it. You're building those calluses so you know what you're supposed to be doing every day, and find your path to what your purpose is. Like you said earlier, like I think it was the first thing you said in the show, was you have to know your purpose in order to find happiness and find an enlightenment.
Well, your purpose is to explore yourself. There's no one that has a different purpose. That's everyone's purpose. But your mission is unique. Your mission is whatever you like to do. And if you don't know what you like to do, then you just need to experiment more to see what it is you like to do, and then just do it because you like it. And you will become proficient at it, and you will be productive.
Right. Dean, what's the best way to get in contact with you if someone wants to reach out to you to pick your brain or to have you on their show in the future?
I have a website, the initial D, Dean Graves, all one word, just a D in front of the Dean, .org. And it has all my contact information there. If you'd like to schedule an appointment with me to clear any traumas that you may have, you can do that on the website. I have written 4 books that are very helpful, and all of them include techniques that you can begin to use to expedite your healing. most of them that can be self-applied. There's one that is a little bit more complicated, but I have a script that you can follow, and you and a buddy or a partner or a spouse or whatever, you can work with each other, going through the script with each other to do some really significantly deep healing.
Awesome. Dean, thanks for taking some of your time tonight. You could be hanging out in Memphis and eating your lasagna with your apple on the side, and maybe a cup of coffee to go with that. Chose to hang out with the Misfit Nation. Thank you for doing that tonight, and thank you for enlightening us tonight on this path to spiritual enlightenment.
Thank you very much, Rich. I've enjoyed it. I appreciate the opportunity. I hope it's been helpful to your listeners, and I emphasize that I am available to anyone that needs help.
Awesome. Thank you, Dean. And Misfit Nation, thank you again for jumping in tonight, asking the questions, and being a part of a great show tonight. We'll see you Sunday night. Yes, we're on Sunday night with the Super Bowl. We'll compete with the Super Bowl. We probably won't get big ratings like they will. We don't have $7 million ads, but we'll be on. So thank you, everyone, for hanging out tonight. We love you. We'll see you on Sunday evening. Have a good night.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.